Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are fine and doing well. It is the second video in the negotiation series. Today I will be covering the pre-negotiation phase. I will talk about two macroeconomic tools. They are steepled analysis and the Hofstede model. I will also talk about two microeconomic tools. They are Porter's 5 forces that shape strategy and having smart objectives. If you derive any value from the content, please like, share and subscribe the channel. Let's get started. Stipend analysis in globalized supply chains is used by negotiators to identify potential challenges and opportunities, leading to much more informed and favorable negotiation outcomes. It is usually done at a country level or at a regional level. It comprises of 7 factors, and I would talk about them in detail. Towards the end, I would conduct stipend analysis on Pakistan. Social factors look into the country's culture, education, and demographics. Technological factors look into the country's inclination towards innovations, research and development, and the use of tech in industrial activity. Economic factors look into the country's core economic matrix like GDP, inflation, interest rate, exchange rate, taxes, and so on and so forth. Environmental factors look into the country's carbon footprint, seriousness towards climate change, and susceptibility to natural disasters. Political factors look into the country's rule of law, type of government, whether it's democratic or some other form of government, and the presence of trade and commerce policies. Legal factors look into protectionist measures, regulations, free and fair competition, and trade unions. Legal factors look into the country's stance on bribery, corruption, and intellectual property rights. And lastly, demographic factors look into the country's life expectancy, rural urban migration, and whether there is brain drain in the country. Now let's conduct stippled analysis on Pakistan. I have extracted some facts and figures and I will be sharing them with you. Social factors population over 225 million as of 2021. It's the fifth largest population in the world. Median age is roughly 23 years. Youth population under 30 is roughly 64%. Literacy rate is between 60 to 65%. A lot of people live in Pakistan. A lot of young people live in Pakistan. Technological factors, internet uses between 35 to 40% of the population. Smartphone penetration is 70%. A lot of people in Pakistan have smartphones with internet connection. Moving on to economic factors, GDP per capita is roughly $1,600 per person per annum, and it's way less than what it is in India and Bangladesh. GDP growth rate is between 3 to 4% per annum. Exchange rate is rupees 280 against the greenback, and the Pakistani rupee has lost approximately 2.5x of its value in last 3 to 4 years. Core inflation is between 15 to 20%. Food inflation is at a staggering 50%. Interest rate is at 22%. So the economic condition of the country is not that impressive. Environmental factors, Pakistan is ranked amongst the top 10 most affected countries by climate change because there is increased frequency of extreme weather events. It is also characterized as a water stressed country because of decreasing per capita water availability due to various factors. Moving on to political factors, there is periodic instability due to governance challenges, military interventions, and regional tensions. Significant budget allocation between 13 to 14% for defense and security expenditures, reflecting ongoing security threats. So the military gets to call all the shots, the military runs the show. Legal factors, moderately low ranking on corruption perception index. The ranking is 133 out of 180 countries. Efforts are being made to improve transparency. Pakistan was able to get itself off the Financial Action Task Force grey list back in October 22. Uh, as far as ease of doing business is concerned, Pakistan is ranked at 108 out of 190 countries. Ethical factors, corruption, bribery, nepotism, and kickbacks are common across all sectors in the country. Lastly, demographic factors, urbanization rate is 36%, and approximately 100 to 125,000 people leave the country every month in pursuit of a better future. So a lot of people move from villages to cities and from cities to other countries, and brain drain is prevalent in the country. As a negotiator, you can conduct stipend analysis for any country. You can jot down the main points and use them as reference during the negotiation. The next macroeconomic tool I will be talking about is the Hofstede Model. The Hofstede Model helps negotiators in developing cultural understanding, which helps in improving communication, building trust, tailoring strategies, and managing conflicts when dealing with people from across diverse cultural contexts. It consists of 6 dimensions, and I will be talking about them in detail. Towards the end, I would apply Hofstede model on Pakistan. The first dimension is power distance. It is the extent to which people at the bottom of the food chain feel distant from those sitting at the helm of affairs. That is the extent to which power is distributed unequally. The second dimension is individualism versus collectivism. That is, if people like to work alone or they like to work in groups with other people. The third dimension is masculinity versus femininity. That is, if people like to give other people a run for their money and they like to compete, or they like to collaborate, work in teams, and focus on synergies. The fourth dimension is uncertainty avoidance, that is, tolerance towards risk taking and ambiguity. The fifth dimension is long term orientation versus short term orientation, that is the focus on systems, structures, policies, and traditions in order to get results that are sustainable in the long run, or on cutting corners and getting immediate results, that is short term wins. The sixth and the last dimension is indulgence versus restraint. In case of indulgence, the focus is on leisure time, personal enjoyment, and freedom of expression. And in case of restraint, the focus is on stricter social norms, self-discipline, and moderation. Hofstede model is available online. I will share the link in description. Negotiators can use the tool whenever negotiating with people from across diverse cultural contexts. I have used the tool for Pakistan and I will share the results with you. Power distance, there is high power distance in Pakistan as there is respect for hierarchical structures and authority figures. Individualism versus collectivism. Pakistan is a collectivist society as there is prioritization of group harmony and loyalty over individual pursuits. Masculinity versus femininity. Pakistan is a masculine society as there is emphasis on assertiveness, ambition, and traditional gender roles. Uncertainty avoidance, in case of Pakistan, it is moderate to high, as there is preference for rules, structure, and stability. Long-term orientation versus short-term orientation. In case of Pakistan, it is long-term orientation, as there is emphasis on perseverance, thriftiness, and respect for traditions. Lastly, indulgence versus restraint. In case of Pakistan, there is restraint as there is emphasis on self-discipline, modesty, and restraint of impulses. The first microeconomic tool I would talk about is Porter's Five Forces. This tool is used by negotiators to identify areas of leverage and formulate strategies in order to achieve favorable negotiation outcomes. There are 5 forces, and I would be talking about them in detail. Towards the end, I would apply the model on the telecom sector in Pakistan. The first force is competitive rivalry. It looks at the amount and strength of competitors within the marketplace. The second force is power of the supplier. It is determined by the number of suppliers in the marketplace. In case of perfect competition, there are going to be lots and lots of suppliers, and in case of monopoly, there's going to be just one supplier. The third force is power of the buyer, which is determined by the number of customers their suppliers have. The fourth force is threat of substitutes, that is how easy it is for buyers to find a replacement for the items that they are buying. The fifth and the last force is threat of new entrants, which is the relative ease or difficulty of new entrants coming into the market, which would affect prices. Now let's apply Porter's 5 forces on the telecom sector in Pakistan. Competitive rivalry is very high. There is a price war going on for a long period of time, and telecom operators are spending a lot of money on advertising and marketing in order to retain market share. Bargaining power of customers is also very high. You could switch from one network to another within minutes, and there is no switching cost. Bargaining power of suppliers is fairly low. It is a capex driven industry, and most of the spend includes infrastructure, cables, and telecom towers, for which there are plenty of options available in the market. Threat of new entrants, it is very high. There are barriers to entry, as a lot of financial capital is required to enter the industry, and it is a highly regulated industry. And considering the bureaucracy in Pakistan, it is not easy to set up a telecom company in Pakistan. Lastly, threat of substitutes is fairly low. The only logical alternative is landline. However, down the line, if Google or Meta decide to provide internet free of cost, that could mark the end of the telecom era. A Porter's five forces model is an extremely useful microeconomic tool. You could use it for any sector or industry, and it would give you an upper hand during negotiation. The next microeconomic tool I'm going to talk about is SMART objectives. It is linked with having goals and objectives. There are advantages of setting up and documenting them. They not only help you prepare properly, but you could refer back to them or step up in the heat of the negotiation moment. S stands for specific, so the goal needs to be clear and well defined. M stands for measurable, A stands for acceptable, R stands for realistic, and T stands for time bound. A simple example of a SMART objective could be increase quarterly sales revenue by 15% within the next 6 months. It is specific, it clearly states what needs to be achieved. It is measurable, it's a quantifiable target, and that can be measured through financial data. It is achievable in the sense that it may seem challenging, but it is realistic and can be achieved. Uh, Relevancy is there. It is linked with the overall business goal of growth and profitability. Lastly, time bound. There is a clear cut time frame. Uh, there is a deadline in which the target has to be accomplished. So here is a bonus tip for you guys. Once you have identified your goals and objectives and have jotted them down, you could split them into three categories. The first category is must. These are the objectives that you must have. They are the deal breakers and the showstoppers, and these are absolutely necessary and you cannot live without them. The next category is intent. These are the objectives that you would like to have, but they are not essential and you could live without them. And the third category is like. These are the objectives that you would like to have, but they are something you can live without and you would not lose your sleep over it. So between price, delivery time, and payment terms, if price is the number one priority, all effort should be made to make sure that you get the right price, whereas delivery time and payment terms could be put on the back burner. You could actually do a give and take in the sense that you would go for the right price, whereas you could compromise on delivery time and payment terms.